receives additional 79 points from me.
Superheroes, we can save the world. So come together, 'cause together we are one. Through the hole, life is how we go. Life is how we go. We are the superheroes, we can save the world.
Good evening, Europe. Good morning, Australia, and welcome to another episode of ESC Fan TV. Over the next hour or so, we're going to go over this afternoon's epic Junior Eurovision final, which I think we can all agree was absolutely amazing. I've got 4 sterling panelists with me, including Nicholas and Curtis, who are live from Poland to give us the up-to-date information from the arena and also from the press centre. And now's a good time to say it. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons as well, because let's face it, you can listen to us now. You can also listen to us on the way to work tomorrow through Apple Music, through Stitcher, through all those other wonderful forms of technology. Now, without further ado, let's introduce the panelists this evening. First of all, our man in Poland, or one of our men in Poland, Nicholas. Good evening.
Hello. It's so weird. We're officially, coming to an end of this whole Junior Eurovision. I feel like it's been a long and fun ride here on the show, and I just heard some people from outside the hall in the hotel listening to Superhero. So I think there's a lot of excited Polish fans out here as well.
Hey, brilliant. Have you enjoyed your week, by the way?
It's been a very nice week. I would just like to apologize in advance for anyone watching this. If I look a little bit tired, it's also been a long week, but it's been lots of fun. I've met a lot of the contestants, had a chat with them, talked to a lot of people like us, all of the Eurovision journalists. It's just been amazing down here.
Fantastic. Now, also in Poland, commentating, I should say, for OJ Australia, it's the fantastic Curtis. Good evening, Curtis.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's well.
So we're well. Have you recovered from the excitement of this afternoon?
I'm still very emotional, and still I've got the excitement inside me, even though the contest is over. I'm just very emotional, is what I can say, because echoing Nicholas is that we were able to actually meet the contestants and actually get to know them, and it was very emotional seeing them perform on that stage tonight. So I'm still quite emotional. So this is going to be a very tough video for me, trying to get through my emotions.
Well, do you know what? We're going to make it a cathartic experience for you. It's going to be amazing. And let's face it, even though they may actually, what do we call it? PJED, Post Junior Eurovision Depression.
That's it. Yeah.
There'll be the Eurovision season just around the corner.
Oh, thank goodness.
Hey, now also joining us from Wales, commentating on the Welsh fortunes this year, we've got Luke. Good evening, Luke.
Not so far, Tom. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I've just about recovered from the excitement this evening. What about yourself?
Do you know what? I think this Junior Eurovision Song Contest has been the best I've seen so far. Bearing in mind, disappointed with Wales's result, but I thought, she sang her heart out. But it was, as I've got to say, like every JESC, it is a strong competition.
It is. But you know what? And we'll come to discussing it later. But my personal take on it is, if it was judged on the tone and quality of her voice, she should have been right up there. I don't think she deserved where she was placed. Moving on, I've also got with me this evening my fantastic co-host, Stuart. That way. There we go. Haha. Good evening, Stuart.
Hey, Tom. How are things?
I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to dissecting what's been a really good contest.
Yeah, can we share the joy?
Oh dear, oh dear. But your puns don't get any better. I'll tell you what, hang on. I can see you've trained me on this now. Hang on.
Oh,
We
this
are
is an
waiting.
awkward-
We're
This
waiting.
is an
Waiting.
awkward moment
There
of
we
awkward
go.
silence.
See,
Oh.
trained. Banner appearing down below.
I was
Can we
thinking, are we
share the
supposed to
joy?
break into? Are we supposed to break into like the common song? Because I felt like that was almost where we were going there.
Let's not.
No one wants to hear Stuart sing. No one wants to hear me sing either, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, shall we get down to business, guys? Let's first of all, we'll go to Nicholas because I know Nicholas was in the press centre. Let's be honest, absolutely fantastic contest. What was it like being in the press centre for this year's Junior Eurovision?
It was just amazing. Like as many people probably know, this is my first time at a Eurovision event, and it's also, of course, then my first time as press. And it was an amazing atmosphere in there. We were fans from all over Europe and Australia, just in there having fun, listening to the songs, and it's just been a really great day. And of course, having all the volunteers from Poland and all the Polish press, standing up and singing along to Viki during the final performance, it was just amazing. They are really happy and they are so proud to, now probably be able to host this contest again and show off even more of Poland. So I think everyone has just had a really fun time today. I know I had at least.
So what was, I mean, here's the genuine question. Were you in the press centre, sorry, at the moment when Poland found out they'd won? Or were
Yes.
you in the arena? You were in the press centre?
I was in the press center, and at some point during the next week, once I get home, I will try to share the video that I got from inside the press center when we found out that Poland won, because there was a great amount of energy in there. It was really fun.
Oh, brilliant! Because I'm picturing the scene.
And we have to remember, we've made history today. This is the first time in the history of the Junior Eurovision Song Contest that a country has won 2 times in a row. So we're all making history here today, and it's been great.
It's amazing. And you know what? This will be a question to discuss later. But are Poland the island of the of Junior Eurovision potentially? Is this what we're seeing?
I mean, it could be if we look into the whole online voting and how that works. But I'm sure we can discuss that at another time.
Yeah, we'll discuss that later. Now, someone else who was also in the arena, soaking up the atmosphere, Curtis. What was it like?
Yes. It was incredible. One of the best 3 or 4 Eurovisions. My first Junior Eurovision, but TVP, the Polish media, thingo, they really outshone themselves and put on an amazing show and a very, very strong year. And I was lucky enough to be in the arena when they announced that Viki Gabor won. And it being on home soil and all these Polish people around me, everyone went crazy. And so I also was able to get a video at that moment as well. And that's on, I think, my OGAE Australia social media. So you can check that out if you want to see my reaction in the arena.
I can't imagine what that... Yeah, I don't have any words really to describe it. What was the experience of the actual show in the arena?
It was high quality, very high quality acts, singers, more professional than the adult Eurovision and more talent than anything I've really seen. So great year. And I was so happy that I was able to come this year for such a strong and amazing year. So, yeah.
And do you think you're going to be back in Poland next year?
Well, I've already made the promise to the head of the TVP, so I don't want to let him down. So I'm hoping to come again next year, whatever city it's in Poland. So, yeah.
Amazing. And Poland have got so many fantastic cities. I don't expect they're going to have any shortage of places that they can hold such a fantastic event. Now, for some of us, we were watching on TV No excitement there, really, of being in the arena. Luke, what were the highlights of the live show for you this evening?
Oh, so many, Tom. I mean, I think the songs for a start they were just out of this world. Out of my five favorites, I can probably say that three of them got into the top five. Well, into on the left hand side of the board. I mean, Poland. I thought what a fantastic winner. I mean, they had the staging right. The effects were wonderful. Spain as well. I've got to hand it to them. I thought they gave for a country that hasn't been in Junior Eurovision for nearly for over a decade. They did fantastically well, and I like their effects of it all being underwater, and she just had a beautiful voice. Wales. I've got to say that as much as I love the song, I do say it was a strong contest, and I think she gave everything she could. But in strong contests like this, it is very hard to pick the best song. And Kazakhstan, I gotta be honest, he looked like his heart had just been ripped out when he didn't get when he found that he didn't win.
But they did so well. I mean, his performance was a standout for me. I mean, the note he held, I mean, crikey, that kid's got a pair of lungs on him. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, all of them did so well, but I mean, it'd be something for us to discuss in the voting, but you have to ask whether or not the idea of announcing the results in the order of where they finished in the jury vote for Junior Eurovision is, I mean, yes, it makes good TV, but it's quite crushing.
Well, I will mention this quickly, Tom. I mean, you and I were in Manchester when we saw Duncan Lawrence win, and you remember the picture of Yerzan in Sweden, how he felt when he realised he hadn't won.
Yes, and it's a shame, but I mean, we will talk about it in time. But I mean, yeah, poor guy, so close, so close. Stuart, obviously, I'm sure you were using your knowledge of Welsh this afternoon to translate the Welsh commentary.
We had this last year. I just gave the floor to Luke. I gave up after about 2 seconds. You know me in translation. If I can't use Google Translate, I'm screwed.
What were the standouts of the show for you?
So many. I mean, I love the opening. I really, really love the opening with the fluorescent lighting, and it's a bit sort of. There's so many similarities now between the adult Eurovision and the junior Eurovision. The way the production is pulled together in the start and the opening. Love the opening. I thought it was a really, really well put together show. For me, I thought Kazakhstan was absolutely outstanding. I loved everything about it. Knew I'd love it going into it, and it just blew me away. Wow, that boy can sing. What a voice. And those high notes, they were on point. You must remember they have to sing the same song multiple times during the week, and to hit those notes consistently well is really something. And it's done. The last 2 years have done Kazakhstan. They really, really made Kazakhstan stand out as a potential Eurovision country, and I'm so excited at the prospect of seeing Kazakhstan in adult Eurovision as well as junior Eurovision moving forward, because I love that song. But my top two were Poland and Kazakhstan, so I kind of got it bang on. I actually had 3 of the top 5. So just saying, Tom.
Not smug whatsoever.
We should put some money on it, actually. But I don't think you can you? You can't bet on
you can't.
Eurovision for good reason as well.
But I did think to myself, when we sat and did the review show, preview show, I should say, on Thursday night, Poland and Kazakhstan were singled out as being the ones to watch, and they came first and second. ESC Fan TV, ones to watch.
Yeah, you know what? We got a bit of heat for it as well. There were a couple of comments saying that we're Kazakhstan and Poland stands.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I think there's been a couple comments in previous shows as well about underrating Armenia, and I will say I don't think we've done that on purpose, but it did come in the top 10 and did exceptionally well with the juries, and I'm really happy for that because Armenia has really been the biggest grower for me this whole week. Like all her rehearsals have just been spot on. She's been really great, and I just want to say on the whole thing with Kazakhstan, like. I've seen that. I think he had like 3 performances in his second rehearsal. Then we had the first dress rehearsal. Then we had the jury final. Then we had the final today. He's hit that note every single time. He's amazing.
Yeah,
He is. He's just incredible.
absolutely.
And, you know,
superb.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. He did look like his heart had been ripped out at the end there. But somebody's got to win, and that's the excitement of the voting.
Well, yeah, some have to win and some have to lose.
Yeah.
There we go. But moving on from that, now obviously we know Poland have won. I know Nicholas has had a question through in advance for the panel because we're thinking about obviously Poland next year, maybe. Nicholas.
Yeah. Yes. So there's obviously already a lot of talk about Poland hosting next year, and they seem to be really keen on it. So I would just like to know, like whoever wants to try to answer this question, what do you think this will do to their participation in Rotterdam? Because obviously, you know, this year they had a song that many people looked at and thought, well, okay, they're sending something a little bit more, you know, traditional because they don't plan on winning because they won't have the money to host both Junior Eurovision and Eurovision. Now with them possibly hosting Junior Eurovision back to back, it's going to take a lot out of their budget. So what do we think that means for their Eurovision participation?
Oh, interesting question. Do you know what? I'm going to go straight to Luke with this one.
Well, do you know, it's hard to say because at last year's Eurovision, at the senior Eurovision, they did have a passable entry, which didn't get into the final. I think, you know, with a lot of countries these days, is it something with Junior Eurovision they have first refusal over hosting?
Yes.
But you know, if they are going to host Junior Eurovision, I actually take my hat off to them for the second time because I think this has been I think Junior Eurovision in general is a lifeline to countries who aren't who maybe don't do well in the senior contest, but can do well with children or teenagers performing music, and if they can do well in junior, I don't see a problem with them hosting the following year, even if it does mean they've got to take more out of the budget.
Interesting.
Can I just come in on that?
Yeah.
If taking money out of the budget means sending Tulia 2 years running, please no.
Don't say that too loud. Mia will hate you. It was her favorite song this year at Eurovision.
It was my
she will
worst.
Be more than thrilled if they go again next year.
They were lovely girls. They really were, but the song was not for me.
You were to be Germany did that in 2010 with Lena.
One thing we have to remember, though, is that I don't know if Poland is going to do a national selection again, but you have to remember that Poland chooses these people, like that their own countries are choosing these people. Same with Junior Eurovision. Someone was asking why does Belarus send the same songs? And I say because Belarusian people like it. It's the same with the countries at Adult Eurovision. I don't think heads of delegations choose songs so they don't have to host it. Songs are chosen because people in that country feel something for it, but that may not translate on the Eurovision stage and on the international stage. So in regards to the budget, Adult Eurovision has a lot to live up to compared to Junior Eurovision for Poland. Winning 2 times in a row, and then you look at the results in Adult Eurovision, it's not quite the same. So I'm kind of confused why there's a big disconnect between Junior Eurovision and the Adult Eurovision. Like, what's going on, Poland.
Yeah, but then I think if you look at the performance potentially of, if we take this year's Polish performance in adult Eurovision, which was good, but they could have done more with it. I think maybe that was because of they were hosting junior Eurovision, so the amount of money they can put into a performance that they show off actually is reduced. And maybe, I think maybe the argument is that perhaps more money went into Poland's junior Eurovision performance this year because it was the host country and they had to, they were putting on a show.
It's quite the song as well. Superheroes
Yeah.
is a really well produced song,
Mm.
as was the song last year. They're really well produced songs, and I. Tulia aside, because I've done that, and I've kind of said my feelings on that, and I've said that in previous shows as well. But if you think about some of the Polish songs of the last, in adult Eurovision of the last sort of 10 years, I don't know whether many would actually stack up to the two winning junior Eurovision songs. I think they are incredibly high quality and deserve winners. I don't think Poland has sent anything of that kind of quality regularly enough at adult Eurovision to stand a chance of having a decent result.
But let's not forget the Milkmaids did very well in the televote.
Yeah, actually, that's fair. I voted for them.
See, there we go. But it's an interesting question. I think you will see an impact potentially, or certainly there will be an impact behind the scenes. Whether it translates into what comes out on stage this year, don't know. But we'll see. We have had a couple of other questions through. So, Esterita AR, what do you think about Spain? Third place. ... Curtis, what do you think about Spain?
I think that's a great place. Coming back after 10 years and coming to Eurovision. Look, they were a potential winner, and I think they should be very proud of themselves. And it was an amazing performance. And third place is nothing to be sad about. That's great.
And I'm going to bring Nicholas in on this as well, because obviously there was a bit of controversy regarding Spain. Obviously, they put on a fantastic performance. Was third place a fair placing?
It's hard to say what they would have liked. I think they would have liked a win for this. There's no doubt about that because they put in a lot of work. But here's the thing. All the three countries that we have in the top three, they were countries that all put in their 1% all for this contest. And because of that, I feel like a third place is good enough. I think for them, they struggled a bit in the juries from what I could see. And it could be because that Spain don't have that many of their friends in the contest. It could be that. It could also just be that the Spanish song was maybe a little bit, I would say, while it was still my winner towards the end, I feel like some of her high notes may not, translate that well when you hear them live compared to when you hear them on the studio track. Because while I think she is great and she's hitting the notes, they don't necessarily sound, at least in the arena, they sound very loud. And it could be that some jurors looked at this and was like, well, okay, so we have this like big song from Spain and we have this big song from Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan makes us feel really happy inside, whereas the Spanish girl is just screaming a little bit more. And I think at the end of the day, because we have talked about it before, I think it's Tristan who said it, that these two would cancel each other out. I think we saw some of that, and I think Kazakhstan ended up being the winner. So while that's being said, I think a third place is still very, very nice for them, and they should be proud, and I hope we'll see them next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you just looking at the figures, Spain 108 on the jury votes to Kazakhstan's 148, and then on the online voting, Spain got 104 points to Kazakhstan 79. So
yeah, they were second in the online voting, so yeah. Still a good result.
It's an excellent result for a country that has just come back into it, and I think maybe next year they'll go one better. I mean, let's face it, all of them were or are children who, quite frankly, have done more in their short lifetimes than I think any of us have probably done.
Yes.
And they'll still do absolutely fine. I have no doubts that both like Viki, Melanie, and Yerzan from Kazakhstan, I think they'll all go on to do even bigger things in this contest in the future, because they all have what it takes. There's no doubt about that. The same with some of the other participants. I feel like even some of those we've seen down at the bottom, someone like Isaiah from Albania, like she's so professional, and talking to her, she's really passionate about this, and she was really happy to be there. So I think a lot of these have a very bright future ahead of them, and possibly we'll see some of them on the Eurovision stage someday.
Now, we've been talking about Spain, we've talked about Poland in a roundabout way, but Stuart, what were your standout performances of the afternoon? Who really shone for you?
I was really surprised by the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had one of the strongest vocals of the night. It sounded like a studio recording. It was that good. The boy can dance and sing, which is a real challenge. It's a hell of a skill to be able to do that, and he pulled it off. And the Netherlands got a decent result, and they deserved every vote that they got tonight, both from the juries. Yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, and from the online voting today. I mentioned Kazakhstan. That was my winner. Poland as well, fantastic performance, thoroughly deserving winner. And I would like to also say honourable mentions to Wales, which I thought was a fantastic performance for Wales, really good. It came after Malta, and I'll be completely honest, I wasn't expecting much from Wales, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought it did it certainly had a really good performance, and did as good as it could have done. And some. And the same for Ireland as well. Honourable mention to Ireland. I thought Anna Kearney was phenomenal and did the Irish very proud.
Very wide sweeping standouts there. Same question for Luke, really. Standout performances.
Well, I think standout performance for me has to go firstly to France. I thought, this really brought back memories of what Eurovision was always about, with the I've got to say, the silly names songs, as it was called. It was a fantastic performance. I just thought, when listening to it, I thought, wow, this is just fun. This is exactly what Eurovision was always about for instance, how the French entries used to be back in the 70s and 80s. They used to have titles like Pom 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 and Wee and all that, and all the exactly, and all those silly titles. And she had so much charisma, the girl who was singing for France. That was my standout performance. And also as we were saying about Spain, I thought Spain really did give an outstanding performance tonight and this afternoon, and I thought it was well deserved, the place they got. But I do question, with them coming back, are they facing the same aspect Italy had in 2011?
Which would be
at Eurovision, where Italy ended up coming second, and then they came back every year, and then they've just had a mixture of entries since.
Oh, okay. So are they going to just bounce around the top 5, top 6 with a variety of songs? So it's a worthy question. Do you know what? I'm going to bounce your question. Which way? That way. No. That. Oh, I'm going to bounce it to Curtis. There we go.
Oh, there we go. About Spain?
About Spain.
Oh, I don't know if I agree, because Melanie is one of the most talented performers I've seen for a long time. You don't really, I don't know, if she felt very rare, very special, and her personality was amazing at the Junior Eurovision Song Contest, and I felt like she was everyone's favorite person to be around. So it would vary year to year. So, but that's a good theory to put forward, and we'll see as we go along if Spain comes back again.
Now, we could talk about standout performances for Nicholas and Curtis, but obviously Nicholas and Curtis, you've been seeing these guys perform all week, and very spectacularly so. So, and I'm going to move on to Nicholas with this one. I apologise. I do apologise in advance because I think it could be a difficult question. But of the performance that we saw today, are there any that you think are going to be either comeback kids or actually graduates into the world of adult Eurovision?
See, that is a difficult question, but I do have some thoughts about it actually, and I wanna bring up a really good point. I had a chat earlier today with one of the guys who wrote the Irish song, and we actually talked about this whole thing because, you know, and I hope I'm allowed to say this. I don't think there should be an issue in that, but like, I think he feels that, you know, for especially a country like Ireland, who hasn't really done that well in the adult Eurovision for the past couple of years, instead of looking at all these artists who don't really want to do Eurovision or don't necessarily know what Eurovision is, they should look at these young stars and, all right, when they're old enough, and not when they're in their 20s, when they're 16, 17, when they're just about ready to participate, they should have a go, because someone like Sina Donnelly that we saw in 2016 and someone like Anna Carney we've seen today, who is absolutely fantastic. For anyone who's seen the interview, you all know how amazingly professional she is. I was absolutely blown away when I met her. These kids can do it, and they are the ones that RT should be looking at for Eurovision in a couple of years, because there's no doubt they can do it. And I think we can look at a lot of the other broadcasters in a similar way. I think Melanie could do a fantastic performance for Spain in a couple of years. I think someone like Mathieu from the Netherlands could give the Netherlands another win in Eurovision in a few years. I think someone like Jordan Anthony is up there, you know, as one of those who could represent Australia. So many of these kids have it already. They've been to a Eurovision, so they already know what it's like being in the press center, how to promote their entries and all this. They got everything they take, so they should be there in a couple of years, and I hope we see some of them, because I think they could really do quite well.
And you know what? I think that's an excellent point, actually, because I think certainly for countries such as Ireland, they could really do with a little bit of a boost, shall we say, in respect of that, don't they? Now we've had a question come through on YouTube. It's from Mario. I'm going to throw it to Curtis. Why do you think Armenia didn't do so good? And it's been followed up by a comment that in terms of the voting, Armenia did great for the performance, I think. But Curtis, what do you think?
Personally, it wasn't my favorite. I love the beginning of the Armenian song. The staging is great. But being in the arena, for example, it might be different on the TV, but in the arena, and for me as well, it just kind of, I don't know, it's something to do with like the tempo of the song. It's not upbeat enough, and it's not too slow enough. It's kind of in the middle. And so for me, it kind of plateaued, but I feel like it was a very professional and a very well put together stage show. An issue that I can find is that it has the Armenian flair, and Armenia have been using this kind of Armenianness at Junior Eurovision for a while. So maybe people aren't really enjoying that anymore. Maybe that Armenia.
I was going to say, are we suggesting more of like Armenian fatigue, in that people have seen it just once too often?
Yeah, like it gives me a vibe of like Armenia 2016 in Malta, where they had the two girls. It just feels like that they've taken one of the girls and give her a similar song and just change the staging a little bit. But again, another problem is that, do they have many friends at Junior Eurovision? I'm not too sure.
I mean, they've done really well in the past couple of years. Armenia has been one of the ones to watch, and I feel like I'm with Miriam on this question, because I don't get it either. necessarily. I think they were fantastic. But it's one of those things where, and I think Curtis will agree on this, when we're in this bubble and everyone else who's ever been at a Eurovision, when you're in the bubble for a whole week, you hear these rehearsals over and over. You start to pick up on all these little things, and especially Armenia for me I've just been struck by this feeling of, wow, she's so professional and she can really do this, because every single rehearsal, she's been spot on. There's been no issues. She's looking at the cameras, she's smiling, she's dancing. So I guess there is a good point to this Armenian fatigue. Maybe they have had their time because they have been one to watch for a few years. But it is good to have, new countries come in and be in the top, because it is getting boring to always have Armenia up there on the second, third place. Not necessarily they aren't sending good songs, but just because we have seen them up there, it's time to give some other countries a go at it as well.
I wonder whether the Netherlands have taken a little bit of the steal out of the Armenian performance, because you've got straight after the Netherlands. I was looking at the points while you guys were talking. 70 points with the jury and then 45 points with the online votes. So, and then you look at the Netherlands, 105 for the jury and 81 with the online vote. So I just wonder whether having those two back to back has affected Armenia. I'm with you. I thought the Armenian performance was very good. It's a good song. It certainly deserved more points than it got. But yeah, it came 8th in the jury and it didn't do anywhere near as well with the online vote. So maybe that had a factor.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Time will tell, as we say. Time will tell. And just whilst we take a brief lull, a shout out to Elliot, who is watching on YouTube. Good evening to Elliot. Also, a big hello to David Ray, who is also watching us on YouTube as well. Hello, Stuart. Wave, come on. There we go. And also, because I can, I'm going to do a big shout out to my goddaughter, because it's her birthday as well. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to her!
Happy birthday, Emily. Now, we've talked about some of the performances, but let's move on to perhaps the more controversial issue. Let's talk about the voting. Every Eurovision fan loves to talk about the voting. And I think the obvious question, and I'm going to pose it straight to Luke, really. Who were the winners and losers of the online voting? Do you think this online voting system is working for Junior Eurovision?
Do you know, I got to be honest, from the past two contests I've seen, I don't think it is really, because what they're basically allowing is they're basically allowing they're basically allowing countries to vote for their own countries, but in a sense, and that's really taking the fun out of Eurovision. I also think it's not giving the countries that we think are doing well the advantage of the right to do well. I mean, Poland, hands down, was the best entry of the afternoon. But then you look at somewhere like Kazakhstan, for instance, which was really let down by the online voting. If it'd been something like a televoting, I'd probably be more understanding. But I think the online voting isn't as democratic as something like the televoting is.
Do you know what? I think I could live with that. Curtis, what's your take on it?
Yeah, if you actually compare the top 3 televotes to the top 3 countries with the most views, they're the same. So that's a big indication. And talking to other press groups and delegations, a lot of their aims was to actually engage their public audience. Get more people watching at home, you get more clicks. So Spain always had interviews with Spanish television. It was always hard for me to get a word in with Matthew. I never got an interview with Matthew because he was always with Dutch television. Viki was always with Polish television. It was always trying to grab their own national networks and promote nationally as well, a little bit internationally as well. So that has a big role to play in the online voting.
Very, very interesting. I'm just looking at some of the comments we've had on YouTube as well. There's nothing like talking about voting to get Eurovision fans going. Elliot, the online votes need to go. Poland are a devoted nation in competitive aspects and supporting their acts, so they'll always benefit. JP Nordica, I think it needs to go. See who was last, the two smallest countries, Wales and Malta. Oh, bless them. And we've got one comment in as well. For me, my suggestion is to have two sets of viewers' votes, televoting for participating countries and online app voting from the rest of the world. Nicholas, what are your, how can we put this? Comments on the comments?
Well, this voting is difficult to talk about. I don't remember if we talked about it that much in detail when we did our review show last year. But looking at it this year compared to last year, I think it's even more clear to see that Poland was a very clear winner here. They had something like 500,000 votes for them if you look at all the points together. However, it's worth noting, they had about 500,000 votes, but their viewing figures said that they had 5.5 million people watching. So still not everyone is voting. It's a weird system. And I think I understand why the EBU is looking at this and thinking about, this online voting being a possibility for the big Eurovision sometime in the future, because the internet, like a lot of people these days, they just have mobile data. They don't necessarily have like a phone number or that many that much SMS charge. So it makes a lot of sense, this whole thing. But the thing is, it just bothers me that they are using Junior Eurovision as this experimental ground, because it does mean that countries that are smaller, they can benefit from this. And that would be fine if this was in an adult contest, because everyone would get it. I think it's a shame for these kids who are putting in so much effort to be here, to sing their song, and actually do really well. And we should be proud of all of them. But I mean, Luke had the point where it's like all these broadcasters are trying to, get their people to vote. That's fine and all, right? But even if you got every single resident of Wales to vote, you would still not be able to match some of the big countries. And it just means that however you're looking at this, it'll always be unfair. And I just do not believe that it's so difficult to make a system where you cannot vote for your own country. I know there are always people using VPNs, but that's fine. Don't encourage people, because even in the live broadcast, they were encouraging people to vote for their own country. And I think that's the completely wrong approach. And it completely kills the idea of Eurovision, because obviously you're going to vote for yourself. It makes a lot of sense. And I get why the Polish is behind Viki, why they were behind Roxana last year, because they're great entries. They're great singers. They're great songs. They've heard this on the radio. They love it. So of course they're going to get behind it. But it's a shame for the contest.
And it's kind of against sportsmanship as well, isn't it?
Yes,
There's
very much.
An element of humility, and maybe that's what's missing when it comes to that. Stuart, I'm going to go over to you. Is it right that countries should be allowed to vote for themselves?
Not really. We don't do it anywhere else, do we? We just decide we're going to do it in Junior Eurovision just to mess up with people's lives. No, take it out. Total rubbish. Yeah, the VPN thing's interesting. Yeah, people find a way if they need to, but Nicholas is spot on. I can't really add any extra value to this. Nicholas is absolutely on point when he says, don't encourage people. Either go to a televote or find a way that you can only vote for countries that are not your own, But if you're in another country, you're going to use a VPN. If you're clever enough to use a VPN, then fine. But don't encourage it. There's no need. And let's have a fair contest, because actually when you go down the list of results across the jury and the online vote, I wouldn't say there's too many massive shocks here, if I'm being totally honest. But Portugal's a good one. Interesting, the comments around Portugal and Malta and Wales. Portugal actually got no points with the jury, but they got 43 with the online vote, which sent them right up. When, look at Malta, got 2 with the jury and 27 with the online vote. Albania 7 and 29. Wales 9 and 26. It's not a million miles between them. It's only Portugal that got 0 and 43. Where the hell did that 43 come from? I'm not saying they didn't deserve it, but that's quite a difference. Macedonia, North Macedonia, 100 points with the jury and 50 points with the online vote. Massive difference there. And Australia, of course, but I think Australia, we talked about in the last week, in the last show, that Australia aren't broadcasting it live, and why would they? Because it's 3-4 in the morning. But that's going to have a massive impact on how many votes they get too.
Important little quick point here. You're saying the whole thing about Portugal. We have to remember that you have to vote for at least 3 countries whenever you are voting in the online voting. So I suspect there's been a good bit of the people in Spain voting for Melanie who's like, we may as well give one of our votes to Portugal. They're our friends. That could be why.
Oh no, it makes total sense. But you said there is quite a difference there between getting no points from the jury, which is it's tough enough, and then all of a sudden you get nearly 47 points, which is the equivalent of Belarus, who finished 11th with the jury.
I mean, Curtis, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I've got a quick story about I don't know if I mentioned in the last video, but I was with a group of people, the press people like Italy and Russia and stuff, and we finally were able to do the online vote, and they were like, "Oh, you're voting for Australia, yeah?" And I'm like, "What? Am I supposed to? Are you telling me that I'm supposed to vote for Australia?" I'm like, "Isn't it my choice that I vote for the songs that I like the most? Like, do I have to vote for my own country?" So I feel like there's this expectation that you need to vote for your own country, and that's where the problem lies in this online voting. Is that people have an expectation that they need to vote for their own countries, and I face that problem with me, that I was put guilt on me because I didn't vote for my own country.
It's interesting. I mean, we've got some comments going on in the chat.
Yeah.
What have we got? The mistake of the current online voting is that we can vote without logging in with an email or something. I don't know what the situation with that's being, whether you can just go around your house and all your different devices and vote.
But you know what? I'd do it. If someone said to me, you can vote for the United Kingdom 100 times, and quite honestly, we're the only ones who are going to give us points in adult Eurovision. If they brought that to adult Eurovision, I'd do it. Everyone would do it because you can, and because it's different, and because you can vote for your own country.
You're allowed to. It is encouraged.
Yeah, exactly. You're encouraging it. Curtis is absolutely right. You should vote for the country you want to win, because you should vote for the song that you want to win, not because it's your country. But there'd be a high percentage of people that would vote for their own country just because.
Yeah.
And I don't mind saying I'd do it.
Other comments we've had, it's wrong for voting for your own country. What's the point of making it a competition? It promotes not trying hard in your entry when you've got a nation behind you to vote for yourself. One idea, put the online voting as a login system and take out your own on the selection. And then someone's put, the problem with own country voting is for natives who favour their own entry just because it's good, regardless of what country the entry's from. And then Elliot, I did feel inflicted to vote for Wales, mostly because of it being Wales, as much as I like the song. I mean, my take on it, I always remember about, must have been 10 years ago now, when Terry Wogan was giving up commentating on Eurovision, and they interviewed different people on the streets of the UK and asking them if they were going to vote in the Eurovision, and they made a point of interviewing people from different diaspora, so Polish, Lithuanian, and basically they were going to pick up the phone and vote for Poland. They were going to vote for Lithuania because it was their country and they had a duty to do it. And I think, yeah, it's something you've got to, but it still holds firm though that if you've got a really good song,
it's been going on for years, isn't it? This is not something new, but we're just encouraging it now. That's the difference.
Yeah, it is. I think, but at the same time, it still holds. If you've got a good song, it's going to cut through. I think the only shame of it is that you get some really good songs that perhaps aren't in that top 3, of people's songs that end up falling down the list. And I think that holds true in junior Eurovision. I think it holds true in adult Eurovision. One interesting thing about the online voting, though, I was thinking, because I was thinking about what Curtis was saying, what would happen if they took actually YouTube views into account when it came to the voting instead, if those online votes match up so well with the online views.
I'm pretty sure Viki's got the most viewed YouTube videos. So same with the Roxy last year.
Yeah, but that's my take. Anyway, Stuart.
Final point on this, from me at least. The two top songs were the two top songs with the jury. And in fact, the top three songs were the top three songs with the jury. And they were just reinforced by the televote. So there really is very little argument for those top three. You could argue maybe Kazakhstan suffered from a lack of online votes, but they still got 79, which is a pretty respectable total. I have no complaints. I'm very, very happy with the winner. I don't think there's too much you can really argue with. And it's a very competent winner. And next year, when we hear it on stage again in Poland, we'll think and we'll look back and go, that's a great winner for Junior Eurovision. For me, no complaints for the top 3 or 4 or 5. For me, probably overall, on balance, the right winner.
Final point on voting from Nicholas.
Yes, I think going back to the whole thing where if a song is good enough, it will win. I think a great example is the first year where we had the online voting, where Russia got the victory. While they weren't, I think they were 6th or something like that in the online voting, they still managed to win because they were just like, they were good enough that their jury score was high enough that they could, take away the victory. And I think we'll see this in years, because I don't think we can necessarily count on the fact that Poland will always score high enough in the jury, even if they win the televoting. Because here's the thing. Had Poland's song been a bad song, it would have been far enough down the jury vote that Kazakhstan or possibly Spain could have, went away with the victory. Because, yes, there is a big margin between Spain coming second and Poland coming first in the online voting. But we also have to remember that there was about 34 or something like that points between Kazakhstan and the second place in the jury vote. So we have to remember there's not that much difference. And I think, if the Polish song had not been good enough, it wouldn't have won.
And that is an excellent point. Now, whilst we're talking about the results, I'm going to go to Luke. Wales. Heart beating. Erin May, 35 points, 18th place. What can Wales do?
I think I think this year they had the songwriters. A little bit of a trivia here. The songwriters were two of the members from. Do you remember years ago when a group of Welsh people entered the contest for Cyprus in 2010?
Mm-hmm.
So they'd written the song for Wales,
okay.
Or at least the music. I think the problem what Wales had this year was, firstly, S4C hadn't done much promotion for the entry as they did last year with Manuel and Perta. I mean, they hadn't given it any airplay on any of the Welsh language radio stations. There'd been no hymn or interviews, and the music video even wasn't played during ad breaks on S4C. But then again, of course, I only catch a glimpse of S4C nowadays, but the times I did catch a glimpse of S4C, I never saw one bit of promotion at the usual time it would have been promoted. I think what they can do this year for next year is that if they are to go back to Poland for 2020, they really need to get more aspiring songwriters involved. I think what also didn't work out for them this year, other than the promotion, was probably stage presence. Now, it's got nothing to do with, but I think basically she needs to inspire Eastern Europe to get that vote, and that's what's mostly crucial when it comes to Eurovision, is you've got to appeal to the Eastern European voters.
I Yeah, I mean, the shame of it is that she actually did better than
She did, yeah.
last year's entry, and I can't help but think to myself that maybe if they had done a bit of promotion, then actually maybe she would have actually done even better.
Well, that's it. I think that's what S4C thought this year. They thought because they put too much promotion in, that's what costs them. That's what cost them a good place. And they thought, well, maybe if we step aside from the promotion, people might think, oh, this is new. We haven't heard this, and it's done well. But often, if you leave it for the last minute, that doesn't translate well.
Curtis, could Wales take a note from Ireland with their song and promotion?
Yes, I think they could. Speaking with the Irish delegation and other press groups, Ireland, and looking at myself, Ireland has done a lot of promotion, even on their own channels. I saw that Anna was on a talk show and she performed her song before she came. She released her music video timely enough before she came, and as other press groups would have noticed, and Nicholas would have noticed, that Anna was very professional and they really promoted her well as well. And with her song as well, Anna was really able to tell a story and bring Irish culture to the forefront. Whilst for Wales, it had Welsh language there and Welsh dancing, but the storytelling was a little bit missing compared to Anna, who was better at telling a story.
Now Anna obviously came 12th with Banshee. Nicholas, Ireland?
Yes. First of all, I just want to say that I think this is definitely Ireland's best entry so far, and I think they should be very proud of this 12th place, and I think they are, because, you know, with everything, you know, looked into it, Ireland not having that many friends in this contest, singing a language that no one really gets, this is a fantastic result for them, 12th place. And I hope that they'll look at this and go, okay, so we have a formula now that works. And I think, like Curtis said, it had a lot to do with the promotion of it. I was so happy to see that Chichikara has really, you know, stepped up their game this year, really tried to promote this song, and, you know, Anna's team and obviously her mom, the famous river dancer, has helped a lot in this as well. Anna being so professional has helped a whole lot. But I just want to mention a little funny story I was told here earlier today, that, you know, with the whole music video, it was actually very important for them to get a music video out in good time, because this does help a lot with promotion, as we've talked about before. The issue for them was that it kept raining for like 3 weeks straight, so they couldn't go out and film the music video. So that's the story. It could have been out sooner had they been able to film it.
Do you know what? It's good to know the weather of the British Isles never fails to let people down.
It must be lovely.
Oh, it's fantastically wet and miserable over here. Now, we are coming to a close. It's been mentioned beforehand, but you know what? I'm going to. I think we're all in agreement that Poland was a very, very well deserved winner. But what I would like from my panel this evening is 3 honourable mentions. Countries that you feel either deserve their placing or actually should have just been a bit higher up the scoreboard than where they actually finished. So I'm going to go straight over to my co-host, Stuart. Honourable mentions.
Okay, let's start with North Macedonia, which I loved. Fire. I thought it was a fantastic song, performed really well. It was 5th in the jury, which is what I had it. I had it in the top 5, but only 50 points with the online vote. And I think that's such a shame. It was a great song. Also, Italy. Italy, for me, underperformed. I thought the Italian song was beautiful. Loved it more when I saw it live than I have loved it, I have to say. I thought it was brilliant live, and it certainly deserved better. But most importantly, massive honourable mention to Kazakhstan. Second year, last year it was one of the favourites to win Junior Eurovision. It didn't quite make the mark. This year, it isn't. It wasn't one of the favourites to win Junior Eurovision, but everyone felt the momentum, and it finished very, very well respected second place, and was just so close to nipping it from Poland. Congratulations to Poland, but congratulations to all the other contestants, and most importantly, Kazakhstan on a fantastic performance.
Okay, Luke, honourable mentions.
Well, for me, I think the honourable mentions have to go to firstly France, because I say France, they put everything into that performance, and for a country that's only been back in Junior Eurovision for the last 2 years, they were sort of really going back to their roots at the Eurovision Song Contest with the catchy title, very catchy staging, and it was well performed. Spain, another one, honourable mention. Of course, they've just come back to the contest. Looked fantastic, the staging, and although it wasn't on my top three, it was actually quite low down. I did think Malta, I've got to say, does have to have an honourable mention, because they had all the words up on all the words up on the screen, and it did seem like a Sinalon entry.
Okay, Curtis, looking for your honourable mentions, please.
Yes. I feel that might be biased because I really had a connection with at least two of these people. North Macedonia and Mila just impressed me, and she just got better and better every time. And she was a big hit in the arena. I was really surprised. I thought I was going to be the only one cheering her on, but everyone else around me was cheering her on as well. And I was glad that the jury thought she was an amazing performer. And I just wish the public were able to get behind her more, because I felt she was really able to connect and show her personality on screen. Another honourable mention is Eliana, as well, from Malta. Lovely, lovely girl, and lots of talent, lots and lots of talent. Hopefully she comes back to Junior Eurovision or tries out for Adult Eurovision, either through X Factor or through the Maltese selection that we used to have, because she would be great for Malta at Adult Eurovision. She's an amazing singer, so talented, and a lovely person. My third and final, and most importantly, the one that made me cry, and it was Kazakhstan. Like, it was my winner. It was the winner in the arena. Other than Poland, which had the home, crowd, the biggest cheer tonight was Kazakhstan, and people were just gobsmacked in the arena, as was I. I'm still very emotional about Kazakhstan.
Okay,
So,
gonna move on, push on and move on. Nicholas, honourable mentions.
Yes, my first honorable mention is going to go to Albania, and I think they were an honorable mention for me last year as well. For the past 3 years, I've absolutely loved the Albanian entries. I knew this wasn't going to do well because Albania never does well in this contest, which is such a shame because they send like such great songs, in my opinion. I loved "Don't Touch My Tree." I loved Barbie last year. I loved the song this year as well. They're so great, and I wish Albania could do better in this contest. And I hope that these last few years haven't scared them away from the contest. I hope that we'll see them back next year as well, because they are really one of my favorites. And my second and third honorable mention will be going to choose a couple songs that are a little bit similar. This is both Portugal and Italy, because I think these two girls were fantastic. These were two singers that I didn't expect too much of coming into this, but like they both sounded more or less like they do in the music video clip, in the studio version. They are absolutely amazing, and they are so fun and bubbly and sweet. And Mativiola from Italy, especially, she's so tiny. If anyone hasn't seen my interview with her, go watch it. I look like an absolute giant next to her. Like, she's so tiny. But like these two girls, even though they were alone on stage, they were singing their little hearts out, and they were really filling the whole arena. And I think even though they weren't in the top 5, and especially Portugal was really far down, I think they should both be very proud of what they've achieved, because they really, showed all of Europe that they can do this.
Now, my honourable mentions. First of all, Georgia. I loved the Georgian entry. I thought they sung his absolute heart out, and I think even though Georgia came 14th, I think Georgia is still a force to be reckoned with in Junior Eurovision. Second honourable mention for me goes to La France. Bim Bam Toi. I'll be honest, I don't think we have enough entries with such fantastic names these days. But finally, my other honourable mention goes to an artist we've not really talked about much this evening, but I still think he gave his country an excellent showing, would be Australia's Jordan. Excellent song, a fantastic opener, and did really well. And as did all of the artists, because if we haven't mentioned you guys for an honourable mention, this is now your chance to have your honourable mention, because you all did incredibly well. And we are all so proud of you. And ESC Fan TV sends our congratulations to every one of you as I try to make a heart. There we go. Now, sad times, people, because I believe we've come to the end of tonight's show. Now, first of all, I'd like to thank my panelists. Thank you very much to Luke.
No problem, Tom.
Thanks very much to Nicholas.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before we go, I just want to quickly say, and I'll try not to get too sentimental, like this half a year that we've had doing these Junior Eurovision shows every other week has been absolutely amazing. It's been so great to see everyone on the ESC Fan TV YouTube page and Facebook page supporting these shows. I think we've all had such a fun time reviewing all the entries, and I've had such a fun time, getting the chance to go to Poland and, do all these interviews. And when I joined ESC Fan TV a year ago, tomorrow it's been 1 year since I was on my first show. I don't think I would have ever imagined that I would be sitting here in Poland and, having done for a new publication. We're still a very new fan site, and I managed to get like 7 interviews done. I've met so many fantastic people this week. It's just been really good, and I would just like to give a massive thank you to every single person who's watched the Junior Eurovision shows that me and Elliot have done, who's watched all the interviews that I've done, who's liked our pictures on Instagram. It's just been really, really fun, and I can't wait to do it all again next year. It's going to be really great.
Well, this year was the warm-up. Next year,
yes,
you're gonna
just you wait.
It's gonna be amazing.
There will be fire.
Definitely. And can I just also offer a very swift plug to all the content that you can check out on the ESC Fan TV YouTube channel. You can see all of Nicholas's interviews there from Poland. There's loads of it. There's some fantastic stuff there. Go check it out. Now, final thank you to Curtis. Safe journey home as well.
Thank you. Yes, I have to echo Nicholas as well, and that ODAE Australia has really enjoyed working with ESC Fan TV as well. Danny sends her love to you all, and was super excited to. I was super excited to be working with Nicholas and the rest of the ESC Fan TV for Junior.
Yeah, same as you. It's been so great meeting you. Can't wait to see you again next year.
Yeah, same. And yeah, we're super excited, Danny and myself, super excited to head over to Rotterdam and to hang out with you guys and work with you guys. You guys are amazing.
Looking
Thank you.
forward to it.
I was going to say, we look forward to working with you guys in the future as well. And also a shout out, don't forget, if you check out OJ Australia on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, you can also see some of their fantastic content as well. Finally, big thank you to my co-host Stuart.
Thanks, Tom. It's been outstanding. What a Junior Eurovision season and what a final. We turn our attention now to Eurovision. Can we call it adult Eurovision? I don't know what you now call it. Just Eurovision Song Contest. And it all starts. We've already had a couple of shows. We had a show about SD Lau, which you can catch on our YouTube channel. And do not forget this Wednesday now, not Tuesday. Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central European time. That's 8 o'clock UK and Ireland time. We will be reviewing the 28 Melody Festivalen songs. I nearly said 24. Got that in my head. That's Esti Lau, isn't it? 28 Melody Festivalen songs for 2020. The artists will be announced. And we have our very own ESC Fan TV, Gustav, in Stockholm, on the ground on Tuesday, in the press conference at SVT headquarters. Very exciting times. Check us out Wednesday evening, 9 o'clock Central European time on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Hey.
It will be fire!
Now, don't forget, guys, how are you going to fill that gap between Sunday and Wednesday? You're going to check out the YouTube channel. Click like, click subscribe. Download the podcasts on Apple Music, on Stitcher and on Spotify. And don't forget also to get involved on the conversations on Twitter and Facebook as well. This has been ESC Fan TV reporting on Junior Eurovision over for another year. But we'll be back on Wednesday. And most importantly, our Junior Eurovision shows will be back next year. Until then, take care. Safe journey back from Poland, Nicholas. Safe journey back from Poland, Curtis.
Thanks.
And we'll see you all later. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Kazakhstan receives additional 79 points from Viki.